Namaskar. Welcome to Daily Global Insights with Sree and Sree. Today is the 7th of July, Wednesday, and this is episode number 198. As always, we start with global news. Sridharji, bitter infighting between cartels, Saudi Arabia and UAE, and the Saudis and Russians over the production limits that could push the oil prices past the $100 a barrel price. The UAE may quit OPEC and pursue its own course. It could also produce the opposite effect. Now, if only US had continued doing shale production, it would have been a good safety valve. This is my opinion, sir. I don't know what you think.
I think that good morning to everybody on a bright Wednesday, July 7th morning here from New York. This is one of the most significant developments because this has economic consequence, which is namely the oil prices. Obviously, there was a step down in production during the pandemic. Now they're trying to step up the production. Saudi is all for graceful step up of the production. The Russians say, no, we need to manage this. The UAE says, yes, I agree with you, Saudi Arabia, we need to step up. By the way, you need to increase my quota because I'm right in the bottom of the barrel. So if you don't increase it, then I may pursue my own course and choose my destiny. So this is the tripartite discussions and dialogue. So which she's going to, have prices going one way or the other way, but right now the prices are going up. With regard to your specific question, the energy independence which was achieved during the Trump period is now out of the window, and United States is very much left to the gyrations of the world things, and we are already pretty close to $4 a barrel at the pump.
United States will step up its game in Southeast Asia, says Kurt Campbell, head of Indo-Pacific Policy Coordinator. China floats African Quad with Germany and France in an online summit with EU leaders driving a wedge between the transatlantic partners. Israel to send South Korea 700,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine. Indonesia to ban entry to unvaccinated foreigners as COVID-19 cases rise. Malaysia and Thailand are also under lockdown. So now what we are seeing, sir, is that this third wave or the Delta is beginning to start making its presence felt in other countries also. China tried this card trick of trying to make it look like it was an India variant. That did not work. Happily, I'm happy to state that we were some of the loudest voices saying how wrong that was. In fact, we have even gone further to say that this too came from the labs of Wuhan. Sir, your thoughts, how is this spreading now when there was a complete lockdown out of India, sir?
Well, it's quite amazing that the people in Asia, by and large, assumed that there was normalcy being restored as they battled wave 1 and wave 2. Now, they all had vaccine shortages, and most of these countries were on Sinovac vaccines. Now, everybody is realizing the efficacy of these vaccines are very small, and so therefore there's a consequent effect that is going on in some of the countries, including Indonesia, Thailand, etc., etc. But having said that, the variant must have come through the tourist destinations or could have come even from, other places. But the fact is that they seem to have the Delta variant. And we now have spurting cases in Indonesia, we have spurting cases in Thailand, we have spurting cases in Malaysia. And China itself has conceded that the Lambda variant as well as the Delta variant has got a very fast mechanism to spread, which they themselves are facing in South and Southeast China. So it's very, very sad. They tried to put a tag into India. Now they're trying to put a tag into United States, saying it originated from the labs in Maryland.
And Facebook, Twitter, Google object to new data laws in Hong Kong and threaten to quit 6 students among 9 arrested in alleged Hong Kong bomb plot as tensions rise. And China to put overseas listed companies on a very short leash. So now we are seeing about Didi, D-I-D-I is one of the examples of what China is up to. Why do you think they are doing this, sir? And do you think that the social media companies will really quit Hong Kong?
First and foremost, this didn't start right now. This started with Mr. Jack Ma, if you remember, his company. That's where it
Yes,
started
yes.
with this effectively to say, hey, you cannot, all because of the fears and apprehension of the pain that they themselves inflicted and the power of money that went into social media and tech platforms during the presidential campaign. To considerable extent, some of the money came from different wings of the CCP, and that is within public information in terms of the marketing money that was put in, and they have invested significant amount. So now they're saying, "Oh my God, this can become a monster and come and hurt us in our own way." So the story, therefore, is that we need to contain. So that is what is going on with regard to the monitoring. Then they came up and said, and financial and so on, you need to be monitored and regulated by us, plus how you conduct your business. So now they are going not just on financial, but they're extending their surveillance, compliance, and regulation across all companies and more in companies listed outside of China. So this is the tight leash or the tight control on a short leash. And that's where you saw the backlash on the DD stock price, and DD stock price continuing to take a hit. As far as whether these social media platforms would quit, the social media platforms would quit if there is a draconian measure that is applied in Hong Kong, as is being done to the general democratic processes within the country.
United Kingdom's biggest semiconductor plant has been acquired by a Chinese-owned company, and United Kingdom may have to come up with some curbs. UK is not exactly a shining example of semiconductor processing industry, so I'm going to differ on that one. A new drone attack on US embassy in the Iraqi capital of Baghdad was intercepted and brought down in a spate of attacks focused on US targets in Iraq and Syria. Iraq witnessed attacks in its electrical infrastructure when ISIS groups attacked electrical towers to disrupt the power supply, and up to 44 to 48 electrical towers were attacked. All towers are now restored. The United States repels attacks on its Al-Assad base from Iran-sponsored militias. 2 rounds of rockets were fired by the Iran-backed militia. Looking at them all together, on the one side, Iran is talking to US about lifting sanctions. On the other side, it is doing all this mischief. What is one to make of all this, sir?
It's very clear. There's no leadership in the United States. The first and foremost, there's no leadership. Number two, they seem to have a lot more information than they probably had before, and which is one of the reasons why there is no let-up, be it drones, be it other forms of attacks, be it attacks on the infrastructure in these countries. You can see it's very coordinated, from militias to guerrillas to sponsored people to now ISIS getting into the thick of action. Is a reflection that there is no leadership here. It is all and sultry, all and sundry, and it doesn't augur well in that specific region. I had mentioned the 3 I's: the Israel, Iraq, Iran intersection is going to be a problematic area. That is one of the reasons why we are covering quite extensively what's happening there.
And now let's take a look at India news. Modi sends birthday greetings to Dalai Lama in a clear sign of message to Xi Jinping, and the Tibetan activists applaud. Indo-Pacific represents a return of history, says Minister of External Affairs Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar in the first inaugural business summit organized by the CII, Confederation of India Industry, and the MEA. 12 national representatives from Australia, Japan, Chile, France, Mexico, Maldives, Fiji, Mauritius, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and UAE attended this session. I think this was online. So your thoughts on these 2 points, and then we can go on to the other things.
I think Modi is sending a clear message. The Tibetans are engaged and active, and Dalai Lama was seen acknowledging and thanking the people around the world, more specifically India. And the Modi's message is to say, we believe in Tibet, we believe in independent Dalai Lama, and we respect and support him. It's a very clear message, and it's a very brave message. As far as the Indo-Pacific Business Summit is concerned, you can slowly beginning to see the unbundling and how India and certain countries in the region taking leadership and moving the agenda forward. This is very important when you look at the composition of the countries, the Indo-Pacific. You have Mexico and Chile from this part of the world. Then you have Maldives, Fiji, Maldives from the Indian Ocean. Then you have the Fiji, Australia. And then you have, Australia taking a leadership and UAE from the Gulf and Singapore from ASEAN, basically saying, we are going to coordinate, work together in a business contract, The captive population of these countries put together is quite a big number. So it's back to business. We are moving forward, irrespective of whether there is Quad or no Quad.
And I'm very pleased to say that of the thousands of unasked for advice that I and PGurus used to dispense to the Indian government, they are actually picking up on some of those things. This is one of those things I had said, and Sridharji also had mentioned it, that Dalai Lama is a very useful political tool that India is not using. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. I'm glad that Modi ji picked up the phone and spoke with the Dalai Lama. Very good things, very, very nice things that are going to happen. In fact, the other thing that I've been pushing for a long time was that Israel is India's all-weather friend, that if you have the compulsion that you cannot vote for Israel, at least abstain, and India did just that. So, viewers, the point I'm trying to make is, as we gallop towards our 200th episode, we are the tip of the spear. You will start seeing even more changes coming down the pipeline that will prove our point. We do take a lot of diligence and effort in coming up with accurate news. Just watch what is going to happen in the United States. In signs of expansive reach and flexibility in sourcing, India receives the first shipment of 1 million barrels of Lisa light sweet crude oil from Guyana. India denies reports of closing of embassies and consulates in Afghanistan. They are still open. India sends coal to Bangladesh as part of securing energy security in the region, and the Bangladeshi PM Sheikh Hasina Wajid has sent 2,600 kilograms of mangoes to PM and CM of West Bengal as part of mango diplomacy. I'm sure a few will arrive at your doorstep, sir. Let me know how those taste. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think the first and foremost, the most important point to make here is consistent with the Indian policy of reach, which is reach to meet its requirements. This is a great news in terms of the partnership with Guyana and receiving the first 1 million barrels of crude. Lisa is the port, so therefore the Lisa light sweet crude oil from Guyana. It's a great thing. So you will begin to see India move. It's the second largest importer in the world. Move its flexibility in terms of the sourcing part of it. As far as the Afghan, there's lots of rumors that fly around. Yes, security is a big issue in Afghanistan. It's very clear that Taliban is taking over several areas. But the fact is that India has a footprint. As far as Bangladesh is concerned, the coal diplomacy, which is namely India sent coal by train across to Bangladesh and to meet the requirements of the new coal plant that is coming up. Yes, the green people will say, hey, here's an example of another coal plant. But at the same time, Bangladesh cannot be, it's a fairly densely populated country. It cannot be without power. So there is a very good reciprocal gesture by the Bangladeshi PM in terms of sending mangoes. Sure, sir, when I get a basket, I will make sure that at least I'll send few across to the other side of United States. And I'm sure you will enjoy it.
And Manipur joins the National Rail Network with the completion of the first trial run of Rajdhani Express from Silchar in Assam to Wangai Chunpao in Tamenglong in Manipur. Varanasi mangoes, vegetables and black rice exports zoom amid COVID pandemic. India will be acquiring 10 anti-drone systems to combat the drone attacks from across the border. So looked at it together, India's exports are enjoying a resurgence. That is good to know. And your thoughts as India tries to also expand the productivity of the states of UP, Bihar and the Northeast?
It's quite remarkable. The reason why, the Varanasi aspect has been picked up. UP has lagged behind in a number of areas. Today, UP is leading equally on the opposite side on a number of areas where it is one of the most attractive destinations for investments. It is Samsung is relocating or locating one of its large manufacturing units in UP. The food exports and the food processing industry is also taking a foothold in in Uttar Pradesh. So it's very positive news on the mangoes, vegetables, and black rice, etc. To say that okay, the produce that we make is not only consumed but also is being sent across, earning valuable amount of money. Remember the farmer reform story. The farmer reform story. We'll come back and talk about it. How this is very impactful within the context of why those reforms are relevant in terms of enhancing the livelihood of the farmers.
And let's take a look at United States news. Biden's 6 trillion budget cut would cut the GDP, but would reduce the debt over long term per Wharton study. I guess he's going to try and make up some of that with taxes. Supermarkets are stockpiling inventory with rising food costs driven by supplies, labor shortages, and transportation. The far left blatantly admits hatred of America on July 4th explosion of messages, say critics. The US soccer team denies that its women's team disrespected the World War II veteran before the send-off match. 150 people killed, more than 400 shootings across the nation as violent crimes rise on the national holiday weekend. This is something that we've been predicting for a long time, haven't we, Sridharji?
Yes, we have been predicting that the crimes are going to increase quite dramatically, especially as part of the defund police movement. And there has been a number of agitating groups, relentlessly marching across, in various, cities across the country. Be it West Coast, be it Midwest, be it East Coast. You have now witnessed, various marches, going back to the mid 2020 and making its way. And in New York City, this was the subject of big debate, the mayoral debate, and Eric Adams, who is going to contest on a Democratic ticket, has made it very clear. He's an ex-policeman, right? All these things are great, but we cannot afford to have complete, mismanagement of law and order in the city. More specifically, we had 4 deaths just about a couple of days ago, including a young child. So not acceptable, especially in public places, but this was predicted.
And here is one more news item that we had predicted and we had said so. Only just over 36% of 2022 election voters believe that Biden is in charge. That is only 1 in 3. And over 50%, 1 in 2, believe that others are directing his agenda per a Trafalgar Group poll. Over 50% of voters believe that Biden has no ability to bring down the surging crimes in the United States per a Hill-Harris poll. Remember, viewers, we had told you about what is happening in the city of San Francisco. The big superstores are all shutting down early. They are expressing helplessness because the police is not willing to act. Sir, you are being proved right again and again, over and over. So this is another reason why friends and family of all the viewers should be also watching DGI, so you can be aware of what is happening around you. So your thoughts?
Well, 3 important elements here where the data is not auguring well for Mr. Biden. First and foremost is the crime. They don't believe that he is going to be in any position to contain the crime that is, getting out of control across the United States. The rise in the homicides is an example, number 1. Number 2, they don't believe that he is in charge. That's even more striking. Somebody else is running Biden's agenda. Biden is not in charge. This in DGI, we have made it, we have tried to bring out in a subtle way that there are a number of instances which brings to bear the question, including some of his press briefings, the way the press briefings have moved on. The third, which is just breaking news, is now there is a feeling, or not there's a feeling, there's a very clear poll indication that he is not also going to be able to control the surge in the border and the illegal immigrants flowing across the country and the consequences that flow with it. So I don't believe that. So these 3 numbers point out that there is something not good for Mr. Biden.
And now let's take a look at the markets. The Standard & Poor's snaps a 7-day winning streak as the Dow falls 200 points. OPEC dispute spills into oil markets as the oil price looks like it might shoot up to $100 and beyond. Sir, where do you see this oil fracas ending? Is the United States going to turn back shale processing again? Because again, a lot of the companies, after all, US is the capitalistic king of the world, and I'm sure a lot of shale producing companies are knocking on the doors of Democrats and saying, hey, listen, if we can't make money now, we can never make money. Let us back in. What are your thoughts, sir?
My thoughts are that United States is being run by progressives and left. It's not run by the centrist Democrats. So therefore, you are beginning to see oil prices surging towards the $100 mark. The only event that can change this course, which it's not likely, at least in the present moment, is the lifting of the productions. So if OPEC says we don't care, or OPEC Plus says we don't care, and Saudi and UAE says we're going to lift the production, then they can saturate the market with excess oil, which will bring the prices down. Highly unlikely, but very potential scenario, which could mean which could mean well for the country. Okay, so that's the first. I just wanted to conclude with 2 points, just to go back. One is there is a door-to-door vaccination attempt that Biden is trying to do. It's not being very well received because they're questioning the agenda. That's number one. Number two, I also want to point out to people, those who are especially in the United States, the food prices are going to surge. In the next 12 months, as we look at the food prices are going to surge. I keep telling my wife that, yes, the food prices are going to surge. We have had tremendous increase in food prices. Why? The reasons are very simple, that there is a whole problem around supply and logistics, and there is a considerable amount of storage that is going on. One is uncertain as to what's going to happen as we look past the next 12 months. This is a message that I just wanted to give, that, manage your affairs as you think is appropriate. Remember, two things are not included in core inflation: energy and food, right? So food is felt in the pocket, but may not be seen in the rising inflation number.
And that brings us to a close of today's Daily Global Insights. I hope you liked our new format. We've been trying to keep the segment to be around 20 minutes, and we'll continue to strive to give you all the news in this short capsule format. Thanks for joining. Do subscribe to our channel. Sridharji, namaskar, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Namaskar. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you all tomorrow.